On behalf of the members and staff of St. Mark United Methodist Church, both current and past, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this special and unique historic place. The genesis of this congregation dates from the mid-1800s, and the sanctuary, originally constructed for $40,000, has stood in this location, originally on the outskirts of the city, for 110 years. The rich history of the church parallels in many respects the modern history of the city of Atlanta, and the story of the church's growth is intertwined with that of the city's expansion and welcoming of all people. In 1872, the First Methodist Church, located then at Walton and Forsyth Streets, opened a mission in a house located on the east side of Peachtree Street, just north of what is now 8th Street. The area, beyond the city limits, was called Tight Squeeze. It had been notorious since the Civil War as a haven for cutthroats and thieves. The stretch of Peachtree originally looped around a 30-foot ravine that ran from Crescent Avenue towards Piedmont Avenue. It got its name from the saying that it was a tight squeeze getting through there with your life. This first mission was called Peachtree Street Mission. In 1875, when the mission relocated closer to the city to Merritt's Avenue, a frame church was erected. The new church was first called Sixth Methodist Church, but in 1886 was renamed Merritt's Avenue Methodist Church. Reverend Warren A. Candler, who became later a bishop in the Methodist Church, as well as a president of Emory University, was its first pastor. The church realized near the turn of the century that a larger structure was needed, so they purchased land in a suburban area at the corner of Peachtree and 5th Streets and began the process of designing and building a new facility. They secured the services of a young architect, Willis Franklin Denny, to design the new church. Denny, only 28 at the time, had already gained a reputation for design. He had designed previously the Inman Park United Methodist Church in 1897, shown on the left, and the 1900 Victor Kriegshaber House, now the Wrecking Bar Brew Pub, shown on the right. He was later to design, both in 1903, the First United Methodist Church on the left, and Rhodes Hall before his untimely death at the age of 32 in 1905. In January of 1902, the congregation officially changed its name to St. Mark Methodist Episcopal Church, and on October 22nd of the same year, the cornerstone was laid for the new building on Peachtree. The original building consisted of the main sanctuary and the rooms behind and below it, and was built for $40,000, including the purchase of the land. The building was constructed of Stone Mountain granite. The main facade that fronts on Peachtree Street has a triple entrance portal beneath a large lancet arched window and front gable. The red heavywood doors are original to the building. The left corner of the facade is dominated by a tall bell tower with lancet arched windows and openings, wall buttresses, and a steeple. The right corner of the main facade has a narrow polygonal-shaped tower and spire. The 4 rose windows in the sanctuary, 2 windows in the cloakroom under the northeast tower, and the 3 lancet arched stained glass windows above sets of double doors between the narthex and the sanctuary are representative works of American opalescent glass. The 12 pictorial stained glass windows on the north and south walls were installed between 1909 and 1959. The windows were designed and made by Franz Mayer and Company of Munich, Germany. Made with the pot metal glass technique that was used during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, the process allows for greater luminosity and clarity of colors, as well as complexity of shapes and sizes of glass pieces and detail in the leadwork. 4 windows were installed in 1909, 1 in 1928, and 1 in 1932. The remaining 6 windows were made in Germany and installed in 1956, 57, and 59. The themes of the windows are based on the life of Christ. The Basilica of the Sacred Heart also has windows from the Mayer Studios. Notice the detail from comparative windows with Sacred Hearts on the left and St. Mark's on the right. The oak pews in the sanctuary are original from 1902. And we're proud to have an Aeolian Skinner organ first installed in 1969, but continuously improved since that time. Other churches in the Atlanta area with an Aeolian Skinner are shown above. The church grew rapidly, particularly after World War I, when it became clear that larger facilities were needed for the growing Sunday school program. The congregation raised funds to acquire a piece of property next door to the church in 1922. The next phase of St. Mark's building development came in 1946 with a building renovation and construction program that resulted in the construction of the Francis Winship Walters Chapel and a new educational unit in 1948. The chapel was designed by Atlanta architect Francis P. Smith under the auspices of the firm Ivy and Crook, and is also constructed of Stone Mountain granite. The sanctuary also received some upgrading and modernization at the time. Mr. Smith was the first head of the new architectural school founded in 1908 at Georgia Tech, and later, as a partner with Robert Smith Pringle, he designed the Cox-Carlton Hotel in 1925, that is now the Hotel Indigo, several office buildings, including Rhodes Haverty in 1929, and the W.W. Orr Building in 1930. After 1934, he practiced on his own and went on to design the Druid Hills Presbyterian Church in 1939, St. Mark in 1947, Northside United Methodist in 1952, and various parts of St. Philip's Cathedral on Peachtree Road from 1947 to 1963. The chapel has lancet glass windows made in the pot metal technique, designed and installed by the Willett Company. The large windows over the chapel area were given by Robert Woodruff in honor of his aunt, Frances Winship Walters. The chapel also contains a Reuter pipe organ retrofitted in 2008 with the pipe organ retrieved from the Protestant Radio and Television Studios. The 1950s witnessed the final addition to the current structure with the extended educational building. After that, the next major construction to St. Mark was the renovation of the fellowship areas, including Wade Hall and Jameson Room in the 1980s. In 1986, the altar railing was restored, and new handcrafted needlepoint kneelers were installed in the sanctuary. The kneelers, hand-stitched by church members, were designed based on the Mayer stained glass windows. It is estimated that there are approximately 100,000 individual stitches in each kneeler. In addition, plate silencers and altar rail cushions were needle-pointed at the same time. In 1987, St. Mark was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. The 1990s and the turn of the millennium saw renewed life at St. Mark, known now as the Miracle on Peachtree. During that time, the congregation grew to over 1,700 members, an especially miraculous renewal considering that in the early 1900s, or the early 1990s, the church was on the verge of closing its doors. During this period, various rehabilitations and renovations were made to much of the church complex, including the sanctuary, the chapel, the education building, the courtyard, and the playground. We're pleased that you're joining us today and invite you to take one of the self-guided tour booklets that will provide detailed information about various aspects of the chapel and sanctuary. Your complimentary trifold brochure will also guide you. The QR codes and web links shown there link to specific web pages detailing the information shown in the self-guided tour. Please leave the self-guided tour with the host when you exit the building today. Thank you again for visiting with us. We hope you'll come back to experience the Miracle on Peachtree for yourself.